The anxiety, the busyness, the restlessness, lack of focus, never able to redirect towards a task, or absolute obsession with one task to the point that any breakaway from it is going to lead into an absolute tragic nightmare and a meltdown. If you're a parent of a kid who's got busy brain syndrome, and we'll talk about what that means soon here, then you've probably seen it all. You've probably been met with an ADHD diagnosis, anxiety diagnosis, been offered a slew of medications or other sorts of things. Maybe you tried diet, detoxes, other kinds of supplements to help and soothe your child's brain, soothe their nervous system even, but to no avail or to a very little results. And you're stuck thinking, am I going to add another thing? Am I just stuck with the medications? And the root cause of all of it rests in the nervous system. The behavior, whether it's the anxiety, the restlessness, lack of attention, any of those things we just talked about, is the expression of the nervous system. And we often think that it's in the brain, but in reality, the brain is receiving information, and based upon that information, it's then going to deliver an output. That output is often the symptom or the behavior. So, what the heck does this look like? And we see it here at Flow Life all the time. It started out with us for an 8-year-old boy who had very bad motor coordination, but also was just go, 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 never stopped, would very much fixate on things, and his ability to slow down simply did not exist. And we would call this a raging bull in our office. Or we would say this kid was heavy on the gas pedal. So, all these things, and sure enough, the second we start adjusting that upper cervical and the vagus nerve can finally release itself, and it goes, oh, this is what happens. Sure enough, over the course of a care plan, what do we see? Easier redirects, easier recoveries from meltdown, no longer having sensory issues, and able to voice ourselves rather than having meltdowns and trying to self-soothe in ways that are not necessarily efficient or ways that are not necessarily acceptable for mom and dad. And I'm here to tell you, it's not a discipline problem. It's not a parental problem. It's the nervous system doing what it can do in order to find peace and ease. So we've seen it. We've seen a kid go from crazy raging bull to much more calm, much more easier to communicate with, redirect, transitions, meltdowns are less, and now there's able to be had a dialect. That comes with the focus, that comes with the ability to articulate themselves better. All these things when the brain slows down. So why was the brain busy in the first place? Well, there's many things that we can talk about. So let's start from the beginning then. One of the first things we refer to is pregnancy. How was the pregnancy with the baby? Mom has cortisol, and cortisol is supposed to naturally rise throughout the pregnancy. That's the preparation for birth and delivery. However, if mom experiences an excess amount of maternal stress, guess what? That cortisol is going to pass through the placenta, and now it is going to hyperstimulate baby's nervous system to be more stress oriented. So we're already setting up baby to be very sensitive to stress. Usually the placenta is able to negate the cortisol, but if there's an excess amount of it, then sure enough, it flows through, baby's hooked on the stress hormone now. This can lead to some negative birth outcomes or more birth interventions, such as, but not limited to, epidurals, inductions, C-section, forceps vacuum, manual extraction, antibiotics. All these things are going to be assaults on the nervous system in some way, shape, or form. And in the beginning of life, where is all that physical assault going to if we're trying to get a baby out of the birth canal? Yeah, you guessed it. It's going to the head, or if it's in a breech position, guess what? We're going from the tail end. Both areas are where the brake pedal lives. The vagus nerve exits right at that upper cervical complex. And the vagus nerve is so responsible for that rest and digest function of the body. What's a baby's job in the beginning of life? Eat, sleep, poop, rest, and digest. So the vagus nerve is already physically assaulted and interfere with from the start of life. What are you going to end up with? You're going to end up with a baby with colic, constipation, other problems, trouble sleeping. Now, take a colicky baby, add a few years on them. What do you get? Then you get ADHD, because colic is someone who doesn't self-soothe and is constantly moving around to find that self-soothing. You can't figure out why they're doing it. Put that in a 3 or 4-year-old. Oh, Kid doesn't slow down ever. What do you call it? ADHD. Do that enough over time where the brain's going, 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 and eventually you're going to lead into an anxiety case because the brain never gets a break. And we're constantly in that gas pedal reaction where we can feel the skin crawling all over us because we're constantly surveying the environment to make sure everything is safe and we have access to the things that comfort us. So how the heck do we see this? Well, we see it through scans. We see it through our Insight CLA scan, and we see it through HRV and the EMG more than anything. Neurothermal is going to come out very active, very colorful, because we're seeing that dysautonomia, the imbalance of the autonomic nervous system, that gas pedal heaviness. The EMG is going to have a huge energy number because all that neuromuscular activation is leading into the brain, into the brainstem, into the cerebellum. Therefore, it's constantly overloading the brain. Brain doesn't know what to do with all this static information because there's no coherence to it. So what does it do? It sends kiddo looking for things to stimulate it, and not in a bad way, but in a good way. That external stimulation is proprioception. It calms the brain down. So them trying to move around and get all these external inputs is a way of self-soothing when their neurospinal system doesn't have good self-soothing capabilities. Finally, on the HRV, we could see two things that are really important. We can see, once again, that dysautonomia of are we gas or brake pedal heavy? In these cases, very often gas pedal heavy. But in those chronic cases where it's been a long, long time, maybe even received a diagnosis of anxiety, that's when you see the gas pedal start to shut down. You start to see them on the brake pedal side. And it's not because the body suddenly shifted and now we're healing. It's because the gas pedal is exhausted. And when we go from a state of neurological dysfunction, of super activity of the gas pedal, you can only do that for so long until it shifts from dysfunction into neuro exhaustion. This is when care plans get big because putting a spark back into the nervous system takes time. It takes repetition. It takes constant exposure to that vagus nerve of, oh, wow, this is what the world's supposed to be like. We always compare it to a veil being lifted where that vagus nerve comes online again from those upper cervical adjustments, and all of a sudden the kid goes, this is the stillness I'm supposed to have? And what do you see? You see better awareness. You see better focus. You see better intellectual conversations. You see all these things. And finally, you're able to engage with this child because the busy brain syndrome has slowed down. The neurospinal system begins to send coherent information to the brain. Brain gets a better message. Guess what? The expressions stop. The symptoms, the behaviors, the unwanted things start to slow down because the brain's making better sense of its environment. So, what does this mean for you? If any of this resonated with you, if you have a child who received an ADHD diagnosis or a child with anxiety or a colicky baby, any of those things, drop a comment, shoot us a DM, get in contact with us. It starts with a scan. It starts with a scan to get you on a neurologically focused care plan so we can figure out where you started from, where you're at now, and where we can go from here. That scan is foundational for seeing the state of the nervous system and how the brain is perceiving the environment, because what the brain receives is going to influence what it puts out. Get scanned, get signed up on our webpage, click the link below or in our bio to get signed up for your scan now. And I'm Dr. Noah, serving the greater Eldersburg area in Maryland with Flow Life Chiropractic. Thank you. Like this content, follow, subscribe so you can see more, and I can't wait to meet you soon.